Figured it was time to do a two-season 15K kilometer review of my 2019 KTM 1090R. So what I'll do is over there on the board over there, I got 10 things written down, just basic thoughts, my opinions over the 15K that I've put on since last June. And I'll go through it one by one. I might maybe stray a little bit from time to time, but yeah, why don't we get started? So, first of all, reliability. Has anything fallen off in the 15K? No. I've mostly owned all Japanese road bikes, adventure bikes, so on and so forth. The TE250s hiding back there, my Husqvarna. So dirt bikes have mostly been Austrian or Italian. So KTM, Husky, Beta, so on and so forth. But road bikes, this is my first adventure bike that's, from the Austrians. And besides a small glitch from the dealer first day where the speedo didn't work, I brought it back the next day. They reflashed it, put in the right version. No issues then. I did have another small little glitch on a trip out to BC here this summer where I went to restart the bike after turning it off and then turning it back on quickly. And the one of the displays didn't go on, but the bike obviously worked and everything else like that. Through a code, just a general failure, and then cleared itself about 30K down the road without having to reset the battery wire or anything like that. So no, nothing's fallen off. It's been dead reliable. I've ridden it relatively hard. I did put in the unifilter kit into it. I'm going to link eventually the blog post that I write about all the accessories and everything else I got. I will not go into all that. I will talk a little bit about the seat later, the hand guards, the mirrors, what else? The windscreen, but we'll get to that eventually down the list. Number two, what do you know? Standard equipment. Okay, OEM seat. I like the OEM seat. It wasn't too bad. It kind of locks you in place, but it was comfortable. It didn't really bother me any. But this Renasco seat came along, and it's flatter than Saskatchewan. It's really, really nice. You can see it's a little bit sloped. It's a little bit about half-inch lower than OEM, but it gives you a very nice seating surface and doesn't lock you in a position. So if you're off-road or if you want to give your ass a rest, you can basically move up and down the seat. Very nice quality. I bought it secondhand, so I'm quite happy with that. Handguards. If you want to go anywhere without broken levers, you got to put full wraparound handguards. The OEMs actually ended up on my modified SV650 quite nicely. Basically, on the first drop, what they would do is they would just roll out of the way and your levers would go bye-bye. So these are full wraparound. I believe they're Pro Bend Cycra guards. Really, really nice, stout. They give you quite a bit of wind protection as well. So recommend some sort of wraparound guard. Plus, they give you lots of room for your accessories and so on and so forth. Bar, I went with a Tusk Chub bar, the KTM bend, nice and flat, not too much pullback so it doesn't strain my wrists. Some KTM bling. Bleeders for the forks, must-haves in my opinion. Otherwise, stock screen, adjustable, really good for my height, very little buffeting. Headlight, garbage OEM, went to a Cyclops unit. Otherwise, eBay cheapy lights. What else? I don't have it on just yet. I only have one ABS ring, obviously, for the time being, but this is a tire that I basically rotate every 2 or 3K. You can see this tire has about 3,000, 4,000 kilometers. I have to double check. It's not starting to cup or feather, but what I'll do is I got a second ABS ring that I'll install. I'll do a video on that later. So what you do is you put the second ABS ring on, take the wheel off, flip it every 3 or 4K of use, and then you don't have to physically pull the tire off the rim. So it's dead easy to do. What else? Accessories, OEM accessories, really decent. I mean, let's be honest, the switch gear, Uh, the set button here used to stick. It doesn't stick anymore. This switch gear, well, my 12-year-old Suzuki SV650 makes this switch gear look really, really bad. So I think on the new 1290s and stuff like that, KTM has finally gone away from that. But honestly, it works. It hasn't really failed me. So real no complaints. From my previous bike where it had super bouncy turn signals, these are good, not giving me any problems. The OEM crash bars do actually a really, really good job. Yes, I've tipped the bike over a few times on each side because that's how good I am. Um, you don't need upper bars on this bike. This entire plastic, I believe, is $70 US. So even if you were to dent it, it's the same type of plastic that they put on these things, you know? It's the exact same thing. So really hardy and everything else like that, right? Otherwise, one thing that I did add is case protectors. OEM stuff is thinner than thin. So I put that on. The OEM pipe is stupidly heavy. It sounds like a gopher farting through it. So that went out, and this Leo Vinci came in with the baffle. It's actually really, really nice. Good sound, not too loud. So yeah, one last thing, pegs. The OEM pegs are okay, but what I found is the shifter is direct bolt on. It's not a linkage type that you have in a Japanese bike where you can fine adjust it and move this up and down as you need it. So it was really difficult to get my foot from here underneath the lever. If I moved it up one notch, then it would be too high and then I would struggle to push it down. So these Rade Garage pegs are 15 mil lower. I think that's half an inch in old money. They're wider and girthier. I don't know what the word is. They worked out really well for me. So that's good. And obviously my Lomo bags. This one just carries some water, some other stuff. The other one has a full toolkit, tire repair, compressor, so on and so forth. Last thing, I don't know what the hell it is with these bikes, chain slap. When you're going down the road, this thing slaps like a bastard. And also, the kickstand slaps. But this is a Black Dog skid plate with the relocation kit. So I might actually contact them and see if they would have a slightly stouter spring so it would prevent it from slapping. Otherwise, the chain I had to adjust maybe once or twice, still obviously on the original chain. It's in good shape. I put in a chain slider that I had on the AT with a little bit of modification. Otherwise, good to go. And honestly, the thing cleans up extremely well. Again, that was one of my likes about this bike. It's really, really easy to clean. Right, next up, suspension. OEM suspension. Thumbs up. Forks, awesome. Set preload, set clickers, a third in from fully open. I never complain about these things. They just do a really good job. The rear shock is really good as well. Honestly, the only thing I'm going to do is this winter, I'm going to pull the forks off, change the fork oil, see what kind of shape it's in, make sure the coating's still in good shape. I haven't had the seals leak, nothing. It's really, really good. It's not one of these bikes that right off the showroom floor, you got to go to Rally Raid or to Olin's and dump $1,500 for cartridges for the front and a new shock for the back, or revalve it, respring it. I mean, respring, fair enough. If you're a bigger fella, above, say, 180 pounds, then yeah, you might have to respring to your weight. But honestly, I'm around 180 with gear on, so this is sprung perfectly for me. So suspension, top notch for OEM suspension. Ergos, peg screen seat. Shit, I already spoke about the peg screen seat. Actually, honestly, really good distance from the seat to the pegs. I'm 5'9", 32 inseam. I don't tippy toe this bike at the lights, and I can't flat foot both feet. It really doesn't bother me that much. Good reach to the bars. I do not run risers on it. I tried risers, Rox 2-inch risers on this, and it's too much. I felt crowded on the bike towards me, so I got rid of that. So just the stock bars, good reach, and actually really good when standing as well. So that's really, really good. What else? Is it fast? Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, you could lose to a Toyota Corolla off the lights, but only if you gave them a 10-second head start. Honestly, we're at 3,000 feet, 3,000 plus feet, lots and lots of jam. We had this thing down at sea level in Vancouver, and let's just say there was a few accidental second gear merge wheelies. So yeah, plenty of juice, plenty of pickup. Originally, I thought it was a little bit soft down low when I was still breaking it in. I thought my Africa Twin had a little bit more get up and go at low RPMs, but once it broke in, anything at 3,000, you can just start pulling with this thing in sixth gear at highway speed, say 110K, 105, maybe 115. You can just leave it in six and just whack it, and you can pass people with no problems whatsoever. So lots and lots of get up and go. Right, what's next? Is it fun? Can it wheelie? Well, I already answered the wheelie question, so yes, it can. Is it fun? Shit, yes. Nice thing is about this bike, it's fairly dumbed down in today's standards. I mean, it's two-channel ABS, so it's switchable rear ABS, switchable front ABS. And how I typically run it is I did have to install a dongle on it so it remembers my settings. So I always ride it in sport mode number one, rear ABS off and traction control off, right? So it won't intervene with my right wrist. And then you can also back it into corners on loose gravel and everything else like that while having full control on front ABS. To me, the Africa Twin had that, and I really like that feature. The two-channel ABS to me is a must. So very good deal there. Number 7 is maintenance. How is it to maintain? Pretty easy if you think about it. No, it doesn't have an air filter underneath the tank, but the unifilter, I run pre-filters, snorkels, yeah. And realistically, even we had an extremely dusty summer. I had to clean out the pre-filters once. When I do have to change the main filter, it's one or two screws here, one screw down here, both sides. Take the tank off, and your main filter's underneath. It's not as easy as a T7 or 790 or 890R. But again, that main filter, you might have to look at it every 2 seasons if you run socks on this thing. So otherwise, filter, 2 drain plugs on the other side, each with a filter. You just basically, or sorry, with screens, you pull the screens out. They have little magnets in the center. Just check the filters and the magnets for any debris. Take that out. Cartridge filter, is it cartridge or drop-in filter? I think it's a drop-in filter. Drop-in filter. KTM calls for 15K kilometer oil intervals, which I think is a little bit much. I typically do it every 8K with just synthetic oil. Also, it calls for 91 octane. I've never put a 91 into it. I put 89. It's never, ever complained. Right, number 8, running costs. Again, I'm overlapping here. Maintenance, fuel economy. Let's talk fuel economy. I'm relatively easy on the wrist, but I like to have fun. So I don't know, take it any which way you want. I don't hypermile. I don't baby this thing. I just ride it the way it's meant to. So 23-liter tank. I don't know what that is in US gallons. Quite frankly, I don't care. If you're easy on the gas, you'll get an actual measured 4.6 to 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers. I might put in later in the description what that is in miles per gallon. If you're using it in town, if you're having fun with it, it might come up to 5.3, maybe 5.4. Honestly, still not bad. So out of that 20-liter tank, 23-liter tank, you can easily get 400K. I've gotten 450 out of it without any worries. I do run a Rotopax on the other side. It's not mounted right now, 4-liter. Never had to use it. So there you go. What are we coming down to here? Would I buy it again? Yeah, shit, yeah, I'd buy it again. If I had to go out, if say I had a choice between this and an 890R, it'd be tough. But the thing is this is more dumbed down. It's not as fancy as the 790 or the 890. Do I need the dash? No, I really don't care. Do I miss the cruise control? Yeah, it'd be nice to have, but maybe it's just another thing to go wrong. These motors have been around for donkeys. They're very, very reliable. They make good power. The heat that people complain about, yeah, it's there. Has it bothered me? No, not really. Would I do it again? Yeah, I'd do it again. Very good suspension, very good power, good tank size, decent fuel economy, good grin factor, tubeless wheels. By the way, I never aired down these wheels. 36 in the front, 32 to 34 cold in the back. Never dented them, never did anything funny. I just run a pressure monitor on them and she's good to go. So the wheels, I don't know, people say they're made of cheese. Knock on wood, I've not had issues with it. Last but not least, is a good value. I don't know. I think so. I mean, it wasn't cheap. I bought this as a leftover, I think, for 16 out the door, or a little bit less than 16 out the door, which was a good deal. Another dealer here in Calgary had it listed for 18K out the door. I could have bought a 790R if I could actually find one back in 2020. But I couldn't find one back there, and it would have been maybe the same price or maybe a grand cheaper for a 790R. I wouldn't bother with the regular 790 with the dinky 43 mil forks. But on the secondhand market, a friend of mine just bought a 2017 with next to no miles for 12.5K, fairly well equipped. So yeah, it's actually for me it's really really good value that doesn't need a lot of money thrown at it like other bikes, like the Africa Twin had for me and everything else like that. Again, I'm sure there's going to be, if anybody watches this crap, there might be some comments about a T7 or this and that, and my bike is better and all this other stuff. Sure, whatever, man. I mean, whatever floats your boat sinks your submarine. But if you're looking at a KTM product or a 790 or 890 or something like that, and if you don't need the latest and greatest, trust me, if throw a leg over one. If you have a chance, ride it. It will blow your hair away for probably 70% of the price, or maybe less than the price of a brand new T7. So, yeah, anyways, that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.